while since the restoration, renovation of our little E4G program of live events. We ended up last year around December with the events in the community. Maybe some of you have been watching it. We are back. We're back on our Facebook page. So now the events are public and open to all. And this is the first one, hopefully not the last, but the first one of many more. And here with us, it's Emma De Marchi. Thank you, Emma, for being with us.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone.
She's going to talk about green cities. Of course, it's the topic of this conversation. Brief intro about her. She has a degree in Comparative International Relations. And of course, now she's very young, and we are happy that we're giving the floor to a very young fellow of us.
Thank you.
And now she's working recently in a company for planning of enterprises development here in Italy, in Veneto, if I'm correct.
Yes, in Venice.
I'm down in the south as usual, in Siracusa. But without further ado, I'm gonna leave her the floor. The format, it's always the same. 15 minutes for Emma. She's gonna talk about her thing. And then we're gonna be here again with a brief interview and chat about the topic. Anybody of you who wishes to ask some questions, you can type them in the chat and I'm gonna report them. And eventually, if you're watching this not live, but in a different moment, you can still type the questions and we're gonna have our expert reply by email or eventually in the chat later on. Thank you very much, Emma. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Claudio, and Giuseppe and Claudio, and thank you also for giving me this possibility tonight. Well, I am a recent graduate, as Giuseppe has said, from Foscari University. I graduated in International Relations. And actually, I developed a final thesis about green cities and sustainability in general. And I focused on the case study of Singapore city-state. And this is also the reason why I am here today to talk with you about this important issue. First of all, the ideal green city has been targeted following some characteristics. Resource efficiency, zero carbon and renewable energy production, a well-planned transportation system which prioritizes walking and cycling, restoration of damaged urban areas, improvement of job and housing opportunities for all the people, especially for the disadvantaged ones, and support for social inclusion. Nowadays, it results fundamental to transform the cities into green spaces in order to confront serious challenges that we are facing about climate change. Actually, the discourse about green cities implies seeking win-win solutions, balancing environment with economy, also with a focus on social narratives and urban marketing. According to the C40 Climate Leadership Group, cities represent the key to address global change. Indeed, the cities are the place where actually the majority of the population lives, where infrastructure, technologies, industries develop. Cities have always been the center of innovation and development thanks to different activities which take place there, from cultural to industrial ones. The term green is used to refer to a variety of concepts, starting from the environmental level to the business level. Indeed, the green cities development criteria comprehend a variety of levels, namely security for the population, pollution prevention, a sustainable infrastructure system, energy efficiency, sustainable urbanism, and technology, referring to the concept of smart city. However, sustainability is a very complex context which comprehends a variety of concepts. It has three pillars, namely economic development, environmental protection, and social justice. Some authors also focus on a fourth pillar, which is sustainable governance. Nevertheless, there are also some limits related to the concept of sustainability, in this case regarding green cities. Valeria Saiu, an Italian researcher, identified 3 pitfalls of a sustainable city, which actually represent a critique to the utopic eco-city concept. namely the idea of the city as a business city, the oversimplification of urban complexity, simple city, and the quest for the ideal community, ideal city. Actually, today, Asia can be an example to follow regarding the exponential growth and development of eco-sustainable cities, even if there are also many problems concerning this development in Asia, actually. The reason is very simple. In addition to being a generally technologically advanced continent, the rapid urbanization process of the 21st century and the rising standards of living drove some Asian cities to become important examples of green growth. To this end, I chose a Singapore city-state as the case study for today's live. Singapore is a prototype of green transformation to follow, even if it still has many limits to overcome. The city-state has the primacy for what concerns greenery. Indeed, it is also called the garden city, the first garden city of Asia. First of all, the reason why Singapore is intended as one of the greenest cities in the world lays in its sustainable and smart governance as a city-state. Secondly, it is an example to follow for neighboring and beyond the region cities and countries, because actually it had to develop in a smart and green way in order to survive global shocks of various origins. It is also located in a vulnerable transshipment area in front of the Strait of Malacca. Hence, it is vulnerable to pirates' attacks, economic and financial shutdowns, and other shocks of various origins. Thus, it was able to transform its vulnerabilities into a strength. And this is why many countries and regions watch it as an example. In 2021, according to Resonance Consultancy analysis, Singapore has been ranked the 8th greenest city in the world, while according to the Asian Green City Index, it ranked the first in the overall results in 2011. Singapore's expertise has made this city a global center for the export of knowledge and talent, becoming also a model for the world, especially for its neighboring China. Singapore's commitment towards climate change starts with its Climate Action Plan 2016, which is its most recent climate plan. With this plan, it aims at reducing carbon dioxide emissions by 36% below 2005 levels by 2030, enhancing efficiency in every sector, namely the industrial, building, transportation, household, water, and waste ones. Even if Singapore is a small island state and its emissions are not very impacting at global level, it accounts for only the 0.2%, about the 0.2% of global carbon emissions. Anyway, it aims at achieving a green transition. In support of this, Singapore outlined its low emissions development strategy in the document entitled Charting Singapore's Low Carbon and Climate Resilient Future, which is a governmental document, and it's very important actually. Singapore's strategy in this field consists on 3 key pillars: to transform the economy, industry, and society, to use innovative technologies, and to build international partnerships, so an international collaboration. Singapore could achieve its reputation thanks to its technocratic leadership, in particular from the former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew to Goh Chok Tong to the actual Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong. According to Parag Khanna, which is a global strategist, political and global strategist, the global political discourse is shifting from democracy towards a technocratic governmental field, in which the performance of a country is the new parameter for determining the success of the country, under meritocratic and utilitarian rules. From this view, we must not intend that democracy is undesirable, because it is both a fundamental basis of political legitimacy and also a pillar of every successful technocracy. But democracy must not be intended as the only universal solution, but as a principle to observe in order to reach the final goal, which is the good governance. And actually, this is how Singapore is acting in the governmental field. The elements of any good governance are measured through some specific indicators, such as the legislative process, the autonomous bureaucracy, and efficient services, for example. Successful governance also means to rapidly adapt to global challenges, developing successful strategies with decision making and capacity building. We must remember that Singapore still has several problems, such as the fact, for example, that even if it has regular democratic elections, its policy approach is more severe regarding civil liberties and political rights than in Western democracies. Indeed, according to Freedom House analysis, it is considered only a partly free city-state. Moreover, it is an expensive city to live in, reason why the city-state is becoming an unequal society more and more. Moreover, from the geographical point of view, it also has many land problems. Anyway, I could select this city because it has a strong commitment towards its community and the world. Its leadership is highly accountable to the population because it includes everyone in every activity, and it pushes to respect the city and the community, starting from simple environmental rules. For example, Agenda 2030 Sustainable Development Goals commitment is undertaken by every sector of the society, from business to institutions, also including children from their first years of elementary school. Singapore is both green and smart. Green because the national government spurs for a great collaboration between the public and the private sector in order to create an efficient garden city. And this achievement has been possible thanks to the efficient government and communities' commitment and also engagement in keeping Singapore a best-in-class city. Lee Hsien Loong's first goal is indeed nature conservation and sustainability. Smart in the sense that it is both minimalist and enabling, which are two fundamental characteristics of the smart state. Minimalist because it assumes a low profile, but indispensable for internal and external interactions. Indeed, it acts as an entrepreneurial state, which provides the good conditions for acting with efficiency and transparency in the international scenario, avoiding dominating rules. Such minimalism allows the state to be actor-centered, and thus it provides social inclusion. Singapore is an example of minimalist city-state, actually, starting from its administrative personnel, since it attempts to select its staff under strict meritocratic and utilitarian rules, to its low public budget in general. For what concerns the second feature, the smart state is enabling, since it provides the society with all the necessary tools, such as resources, information, technology, etc., which sometimes larger states don't provide to all the population. Well, it is clear that the vulnerable situation in which Singapore grew pushed the city to focus on innovative measures in line with the context, in line with the general global context. But these circumstances clearly helped the city to become a leader in terms of environmental, economic, and social sustainability, also determining its success. And this is a good reason to think about Singapore as a leading global hub and a center of innovative technologies all over the world. I have concluded my discourse, and I leave the floor for possible questions. Thank you.
Amazing. 14 minutes sharp, 1 minute. That's great. Thank you very much, Emma.
Thank you.
Very interesting. And
Thank
actually, I've been taking some notes so that we can start our little conversation.
Yeah, of course.
Let's see if there is something else from our audience. But first, I would like to start with some ideas of mine. That you inspired some thoughts.
Yeah.
And some of you know that I have a big background in international relations. So before doing business and before addressing the sustainability aspect of development, I actually studied politics, and I think it's a great background to start with. And I really liked the fact that here sustainability is strictly correlated with the form of governance.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, of course, this technocracy that they have in Singapore, and the fact that in this case, probably technocracy has been a sort of condition to foster the development of the sustainable city.
Yes.
While in Western democracy, mainly in Europe, sometimes if I think about the Italian debate, for instance, but other EU countries, the debate around technocracy is that technocracy is evil. It's something we must avoid. So this is interesting how in different parts of the world they are using different kind of government. And at that point for them, the perspective is quite different. Of course, probably we wouldn't renounce to our freedom in certain aspects of life, even though societies are different and as they should be. But yet, it's important, I think, to change the perspective of what I'm saying and try to understand how Western democracies can actually adapt to the current times and react, because now we are reacting, but we should probably be predicting and be in advance to what is the future of sustainable development, and how our governments can actually be updated and in line to face the new challenges. So not to go into, let's say, not free technocracy, but to have a performing democracy. Is that possible? Is it possible according to you?
Well, I don't know, because actually the Western and the Eastern type of government are very, very different, and the context also are very different. Actually, the technocratic government is a challenge for us. And what Singapore wants to show is actually a challenge. According to some forecasts, it could be possible, according to Parag Khanna, who I mentioned, sorry, it should be possible, but according to me, it's very difficult because we don't have the same circumstances, actually. For example, in Singapore isn't corrupted at all. And actually in Italy, but also in other countries of Europe, we are facing these problems. So it's very difficult to answer to this question.
I know. I wouldn't expect an answer, but just
there isn't an answer, actually. What I can say is that the example of Singapore, but also of others, technocracies of Asia, for example, also Taiwan could be another technocracy, is a challenge for us. They can be an example of green growth following the technocratic perspective, but we are not in the right direction, actually, I think.
Sometimes also with this later COVID pandemics and crisis, the idea is that it seems that the world is changing fast and our systems are not reacting fast enough.
Exactly.
So we hope that in the future we can find a way to keep our systems, let's say our pillars, but in a more efficient way that can actually react to the quick times that we are facing.
Yes.
We have a question from our audience, actually from LinkedIn.
Okay.
I'm trying to understand if I got it correctly. He says, in what way Singapore integrates traditional ideas in urban governance? So I don't know if traditional ideas means like the classic way of doing things or actually.
Okay. Singapore, it is a modern society in general, a contemporary society better in general. So it is actually trying to embed all the contemporary ideas. So it is using innovative technologies, an innovative governance system, innovative infrastructures in order to be part of the global world, because actually Singapore is a very little city-state, so it is difficult. It is very vulnerable in general as a place. Actually, its leadership, which I mentioned which I mentioned before during my discourse, is trying to maintain a meritocratic and utilitarian approach, which has been which has been active since the beginning of the smart state of the city of the Singapore smart and city state itself. So I think it is doing this through its meritocratic approach in particular, and its use of a very low public budget in order to help the population to live better in Singapore itself. I think it is doing this in this way.
Okay.
I don't know if I answered to the question.
I think you did. I mean, in case Abdullah is still connected and he's listening to your answer, if he needs more clarification, he can still type and participate.
Yeah,
an open space. So
yeah,
we can
actually Singapore is a very very contemporary city, more than our idea of city. Our idea of European city is very different, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I was telling there before in our private chat before the live event. I had the pleasure to go there when I was a little bit younger. Yeah, I have an idea of the city, of course, and I have many friends living there that I actually say hi if they're watching.
I should go.
So actually, let's be serious again. There is a couple of more questions on me. Actually, of course, we have been talking about sustainable cities, but are there any parameters, international standards to evaluate if a city is sustainable? So let's say that I'm the mayor of a city now and I want it to be more sustainable according to international standards. What should I do?
Yes, okay. According to global standards, well, it depends because there are different. There is the European standard, the Asian standard, the American standard. So it's different depending on the context, and this is important to know. But in general, a green city is green if actually it has sustainable infrastructures. It means infrastructures which rely on Agenda 2030 goals, for example, efficient services. For example, go to work or to school by bus or by public transport in general, and the time of transportation, a low time of transportation, low public budget, technology, which means a smart city, and actually it is the case with Singapore, and pollution prevention systems, and efficient services in general, as I already mentioned. Then if you want to go deep into detail, it depends, of course, on the place and on the type of standards. If you want to analyze, let's say. So there isn't a universal standard. This is what I want to say. And but there are some characteristics which are important to implement. If I yeah,
it's clear. I mean, not easy, of course, especially if you are dealing with old cities.
Yeah, I during my discourse before, I mentioned the utopic idea, because it is not easy to build an efficient green city.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know, we have a tough challenge to preserve the past while adapting to the need of sustainable environmental
exactly
requirements. European question from YouTube here. Hello from Luz. Hi, Luz. What do you think of Copenhagen as a sustainable city? Can it be a role model for Europe?
I think yes. Copenhagen and Amsterdam are two of the main green cities of Europe. Both because there is the majority of the city is green in terms of parks, so green spaces, but also because it has a great use of public transport, in particular of bikes. And this is an important characteristic of a green city, which actually Singapore, for example, is trying to implement, but it is not implementing now. It is a green city, and it is an example for Europe, also because it has it lays in a place which is available to be green. This is not the case for other other European central cities, for example. So to be green depends also on the place where you are. So Copenhagen is definitely green, I can say.
Yeah, I mean, and also we know that in Copenhagen there is the island of Samso. I don't know if I pronounce it correct.
Yeah.
That is a fully sustainable island, mainly that is energetic,
Yes.
self-sufficient. So
Yeah.
it's 4,000 people there living out of the energy that they produce on the islands.
Yeah. According to the analysis which I mentioned before, Resonance Consultancy, Singapore is the 8th greenest city in the world, while Copenhagen is the 2nd. So it's
So what's the
very high. Yeah.
Do we know what is the first one?
Vienna.
Yeah.
It's
Interesting.
strange, but it is. Yeah.
I wouldn't have said that. Okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations to our Austrian friends then.
Yeah.
Vienna, by the way. Also Copenhagen, even though I didn't have the pleasure to visit. So we have the reply from Abdullah here. Thank you for this interesting exchange. He says, I totally agree with Emma. Achieving technocratic governance could be a huge challenge in the middle of nations, as their politics is based on sentiments very often, race, tribes, and religious differences. Absolutely. But with public enlightenment, mentorship, and inclusive governments, that can be achieved. And here, thank you, Abdullah, because you are highlighting one important thing that now with new European, the new European model, and also Italian acceptance of it, is the inclusive governance. What we call in Italy coprogettazione, meaning co-planning, all right, in English standards. The fact that the population should be included in the planning of their territorial development, also the local policies. So this is important, and it should be in Western democracies, but it should also be in middle low-income countries as a way to foster development there and include the population in the growth of the country. I would say that...
Sorry, Giuseppe. I add that thing. I mentioned before sustainable governance. This is actually sustainable governance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Singapore is implementing it very well, actually.
Yeah. When we talk about sustainable governance, let's say inclusiveness, that's great. Totally agree. It has been great. I mean,
thank you.
It is for growth. We are working on a daily basis on these kind of projects. As many of you know, we are a global reality. Basically, we like to work on small projects, small businesses in local places. Currently, we're active in Sicily. We're active in Spain. We have some projects in England, but we are trying to change things step by step. We do dissemination like this. Thank you to our volunteers that they talk about the topics they know, and they help us share the knowledge here in our online event. We have fellows in Switzerland that are doing great projects with us in Lugano. So the idea is that everybody, like taking the example of Samso in Denmark, if we think that 4,000 people are self-sufficient, I think that if we split the world in squares of 4,000 people, we couldn't be energetically sustainable. And this is the same with small projects that we follow with our consulting, with our professionals. If we are sustainable on small projects, if we add them up, small project by small project by small project, we can have actually a sustainable way of doing business and territorial development. Emma, thank you very much. Thank you very much, people who have been with us, and thank you for who is going to watch this further on. See you on the next live next month on Ethics for Growth. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you again for involving me.